maybe longer lasting. Former Sanders supporter Harlan Hill, Washington Times columnist Madison Gesiotto, and liberal commentator Danielle McLaughlin. All right, Danielle, ended with you. Your take on this and whether the media, regardless of your opinions on either of these issues, is being fair here.
Well, I'm not sure that it's going to sway people who are already supporting Clinton or who are already supporting Trump. I think the reason the media is going after Trump, there's two reasons. Number one, he hasn't released his tax records, which is, as you have to admit, unusual for a presidential candidate. Number two, he stood on the sidelines for years and he threw stones at Obama and Romney for their tax rates. And he's also disparaged the poor who don't pay federal tax. And so I think there's a sense that if you're going to stand on the sidelines and throw stones, you better not be in a glass house.
But you didn't answer my question. Do you think the same zeal was applied to Hillary Clinton and what she said and disparaged of Bernie Sanders supporters?
Well, actually, I don't think she disparaged the Sanders supporters, and I would say to your viewers...
Disgruntled baristas?
Well, what she
Kids
talked about...
in their parents' basement?
What she talked about was a fact that 30% of 18 to 34-year-olds are still living with their parents. The number we haven't seen in 130 years. I say to your viewers, read the transcript, don't listen to the spin, because frankly...
Would you feel the same way if Mitt Romney had said that, or Donald Trump had said that about Sanders supporters?
Trump and Romney have called people who have called them takers, have been disparaging. Read the transcript. Frankly, Neil, this was not disparaging. She was very much emotionally connected.
We not only read the transcript, we played it, but leaving that aside, right. Harlan, my only concern with this, regardless whether you like Hillary Clinton or whether you like Donald Trump, is if you're going to go after one on leaked taxes, and you certainly went after a prior Republican nominee on leaked audio, you should show maybe half the same zeal on this leaked audio.
Oh, but the media won't do that. I mean, look, there's no comparison between the two. It's clear that Hillary's comments were much more egregiis. I mean, but this is the tone that's just rife with, the trademark Hillary condescension and contempt that she has for millennials. Look, this is a group of people that almost robbed her of the nomination through their support of Bernie Sanders. So I think that she takes it very personally when she disparages millennial voters.
Well, here's where I actually agree with something Danielle had said. And Madison, I don't take any offense to what the candidates, in this case, Mitt Romney 4 years ago, Hillary Clinton now, I accepted what they said and what they meant. Now, it's the way it came out that wasn't well received.
Exactly.
But I do think, Madison, that it makes you think, is the media really trying hard to embarrass Donald Trump? Maybe he's making that easy. Well, but they don't do the same on the other side. That's pretty obvious.
I think the media is absolutely trying hard to embarrass Donald Trump and to make him look like an idiot. They focus, some stations not at all, on Hillary Clinton's comments. I agree with you. The comments weren't that egregious. Same with Mitt Romney in 2012. I wasn't offended with either of these. However, there are supporters of Bernie Sanders that are on the fence and may not vote for Hillary Clinton over these. But going back to the media, I think what we're forgetting is Hillary Clinton, she's had failures less than 4 years ago they're not talking about. This is a leaked, potentially, detrimental thing to her. But what's most important is Benghazi. Let's look at that. 4 Americans left dead because of her decisions as Secretary of State. Let's look at Boko Haram, who she refused to put on the official terrorism list during her time as Secretary of State. Meanwhile, thousands, tens of thousands were killed. Young girls were sold into sex slavery in Nigeria, sometimes turned into suicide bombers. This is unacceptable, and this really raises a lot of concerns as to whether she can protect this nation, and I don't think she can, and I wish the mainstream media would be talking about this more.
All right, Danielle, now the question becomes, is this the type of issue, these are the type of issues that should come up in the VP debate tomorrow or next week in the next presidential debate, or all bets off?
I suspect that they will. What we see with the two vice presidential candidates is they were both successful governors, and what they're going to be called to do, I think, on that stage is really defend the policies and the practices and the backgrounds of their own candidates. So I can see the Trump tax issue coming up, and Mike Pence is going to have to defend it. I can see this transcript coming up, and frankly, I don't think Tim Kaine will have a problem, because if you look at these words in context, she talked about these people who hoped to come out of college with a job that was better than a barista, and they actually didn't. She had empathy. She was a realist, and she said she would never promise.
And by the way, I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. I know what she meant. I know how it sounds. I know what Mitt Romney said, and I know what he meant, and I know how that sounds. Now, Harlan, what I'm asking you, though, is that when the media takes this back and digests all of this and clearly seems to prefer any scandal or potential scandal involving Donald Trump over anything having to do with Hillary Clinton, that sends a message he's the guy we're after, not her.
Oh, no question. Look, my new party trick is to ask New York Times and Washington Post reporters who's a greater threat to the States, ISIS or Donald Trump? And almost always they're not able to give the straight answer that you'd expect. And so I think that actually tells you a lot about the mindset of the mainstream media in this country this election cycle. They will do and compromise all of their values to defeat him. And I think that's what this boils down to.
I think Donald Trump has been given a pass from the moment he descended that escalator, and I think that the mainstream media, frankly, didn't think that he was a real candidate.
Please.
I'm not sure he did either, and so we're finally seeing the kind of scrutiny that all of the other candidates have been subjected to.
Danielle, do you see the headlines in the papers? Are you looking at the same papers? If he's getting a pass, then I'm stumped.
No, he's getting the same scrutiny that Hillary Clinton got for her server, for her email, for her record as Secretary of State. This is the big leagues, and he needs to get that kind of scrutiny.
Hillary's the most coddled candidate for the President of the United States in U.S. history.
All right, we'll watch it. Obviously, there is very little gap in between there. We'll see what happens, guys. Thank you very, very much.